My mom, she made us as a family her priority. She didn't do much stuff for herself, but she'd be exhausted, and she didn't go out very much with friends. So I thought that becoming a mom would be like that. You have to give everything to your family. You lose your entire social life. You don't go out with friends. So when me and my husband got married, I was very resistant to having kids.
Hi there, Soulful Mama. Welcome to the Soul Care Mom podcast. I'm Catherine Wilde of soulcaremom.com. I'm a mom of 3 amazing kids, a soul care mom coach, and a yoga and meditation teacher. I've helped hundreds of women, and I'm here to help you feel calm and find your unshakable confidence as a mom. If you're ready to stop living in survival mode and you're ready to drop the mom guilt and overwhelm, this podcast is for you. Think of this as a lunch date with a girlfriend. Grab a cup of tea and get cozy. It's time to get honest and vulnerable and shift the traditional mindset around motherhood. Be sure to subscribe to be the first to know when new episodes are released. Get ready to grow and feel empowered as a mom. I'm here for you, Mama. Let's get started. Hi, love. Today we're diving into a topic that women are experiencing all over the world, and that is overcoming mom guilt. I am thrilled to welcome JoAnn Crohn, parenting educator and founder of No Guilt Mom. JoAnn helps moms prioritize themselves while building deeper family connections. So whether you're struggling with guilt about working, taking time for self-care, or setting boundaries, this episode will give you practical strategies to release that heavy burden and embrace motherhood with more joy. So grab your favorite drink, find a cozy spot, and join us for this heartfelt conversation about transforming your relationship with mom guilt. You are not going to want to miss this episode. Hi, JoAnn. I'm so happy you're here.
Hi, thank you so much for inviting me. I'm happy to be here.
Yay. So I love the work that you're doing. It's such a gift to mothers everywhere. And you have something really special going on right now too that we'll talk about. But yeah, I am excited to dive into these 5 strategies you have to help us overcome mom guilt. I would love to start by hearing a bit about how you came to do the beautiful work that you're doing.
Yeah. So I didn't of course it wasn't my goal in college to be like, let's start a mom guilt website. So it did come as a series of events really that started when I became a mom myself. My mom, I know, had a lot of guilt growing up. Like I was raised Catholic. Catholic guilt is a thing, and especially Catholic guilt among women. And so my mom, she made us as a family her priority. She didn't do much stuff for herself. I remember telling her when I was like 14 years old and giving her all the unsolicited advice I could, because that's just me, that, Mom, if you want to go work out, which she did, she was just saying she didn't have time. I'm like, hey, you have a gym at your work. You can go work out there. And she said, no, you and your dad, you all need me here. I need to come home right after work. So she would come home at 6:30. My dad was a teacher. He was home way before her, like 4:30. He was the one picking me up. He was the one running me to appointments and all of that stuff. But she'd be exhausted, and she didn't go out very much with friends. So I thought that becoming a mom would be like that. You have to give everything to your family. You lose your entire social life. You don't go out with friends. So when me and my husband got married, I was very resistant to having kids. I'm like, no, we can't do this. I like my life. I like my friends. I don't think I could do a good job at motherhood. Until we saw his cousins who were running a company and had 2 small children, and their kids were just a part of their daily life. Their kids just came with them. It wasn't like everyone was sitting at home all the time. It was a way that they were doing their thing and the kids were doing their thing alongside them. Like it's something called, oh gosh, I can't remember what it's called now. Not horizontal play, but everyone listening in the child development realm will know what I'm talking about. Parallel play. It's called parallel play. And I was like, oh, that's really interesting. I could do that. So I had my first, and after a total like nightmare of postpartum depression and anxiety, I came through it. And it was through that experience where I had to go to therapy for the very first time in my life. And I was sitting here kind of bemoaning my circumstances and being like, oh, like nobody calls me to go out anymore. Like I have this one other friend with kids and she never reaches out. I'm just stuck at home. And my therapist like turned to me and she's like, JoAnn, if you want something, you have to be the initiator to go and do it. And that statement changed the entire way I looked at my life, especially as a parent. It gave me back my control that I thought that I lost through having kids. And so my mission in No Guilt Mom is to give moms back their control, to tell them that they don't have to do everything, that in fact doing less is great, and you could have this wonderful relationship with your kids where they still want to, hang out with you and be your friend when they move out of the house, and like go after the things you want to go after too without sacrificing yourself. And so that's the mission behind No Guilt Mom.
I love that. Oh, I love your story. I think so many of us can relate to that. The models that we had growing up, right? That was just what we saw. Like you sacrifice. And so we kind of take that on. And I remember feeling that too, like, oh, wow, what's life going to look like after this? And yeah, there's kind of a grieving that happens there. And I love that too, that you were saying like we don't have to do it all and understanding that we have permission to really look at our lives. Last year, my word of the year, my intention for the year was simplicity. And it really had me look at every area and like, what am I doing that I am just doing because I thought that I needed to do it. I've, used to work for me. Maybe it's not anymore. It's just extra. And so I love this. I love your mission. And I remember the first time that I really felt that mom guilt. I had a friend who was she had kids that were older. And so she had been through this mom stuff. And she was like, she knew we needed to like connect as moms, right? And so she invited me out to have lunch. And it was so hard for me, so hard to go out, so hard to say yes to it. And then when I was there, I spent the whole time just like looking at the watch, like looking at my phone, like making sure there were no messages and feeling so guilty. And that was one of my first ahas, like, wow, this is really draining me. And yeah, I can't be healthy to do this all the time. And so, yeah. Okay, so yeah, let's dive in. So what do we do? How do we overcome mom guilt?
So I think the first thing is realizing what causes mom guilt and what mom guilt actually is. Because like the story that you told of you and your friends, like you are definitely not alone there. I hear stories from so many women in our community who talk about the same thing, not being able to go out and have fun because they can't relax when they're going out and having fun. They feel so guilty about leaving their kids at home. And what guilt is it is a core emotion that governs our behavior. And the way it governs our behavior is it's promoting compliance with number one, social norms. So looking to see like, oh, what are other moms doing? Like what should quote unquote moms be doing? And then the second one is self-imposed standards. What do I believe makes me a good mom? If you believe that being there 24/7 for your kids and making sure that you are always available makes you a good mom, you are going to be really racked with guilt whenever you aren't doing that. So when we examine those two things, then we can start to make changes and start to really attack our guilt.
Yeah. Um, I love that so much. And you're so right. There's so many things that kind of go unnoticed in our minds of what we're kind of being conditioned to. We believe and we can that was one of the most empowering things that I learned. I was a teenager when I first heard this, and it was the idea that your beliefs are just the thoughts you think over and over again. And
Mhm.
if you change your thoughts, you can change the way you think and you see the world and you show up in the world. And so this is such empowering work that you're doing.
Yeah, it's so interesting too because like I didn't learn that I think until maybe after I even finished my teaching career. So probably when I started my business, when I started to get life coach training and certification, that's where I heard the model that for example, if your kid does something or says something to you where it's like, "Mommy, you're never here." What happens next depends on three factors. The first thing is what your thought is, what you think, and how you interpret what you just heard. If you interpret it to be, oh, my child really loves me and just misses me while I'm not here, that will take you in one direction. But if you interpret it to mean, man, I am such a sucky mom. I was not here for my child. Like if they were being taken care of, they shouldn't be saying that. It's going to take you down a whole other emotional process because your thoughts then govern your emotions. And it's your emotions, whether you feel guilt or whether you feel just like this overwhelming love for your child, depending on what you thought in that moment, they will then govern your actions. And so if you're feeling all guilty, you're not going to be leaving to take care of yourself. You're going to be apologizing to your child. You're going to be like really down and depressed probably the rest of the evening after they said that, just feeling like a failure and feeling like all this shame. Versus if you are feeling like this love and adoration for your child and know that they feel it too because they just said this, you're probably going to have like a little more energy. You're going to have like a smile on your face. You're going to feel really taken care of and loved. And again, I tell you, like, I really like control. I love to know that I have control in situations. And so once I learned that just by changing your thoughts, could you change your emotions and then change your actions? I mean, it was a game changer.
Oh yeah, that is so empowering. And you're so right that noticing the link between what we're thinking and what we're feeling is really powerful too. Um, yeah, how cool is it that because I think all of us have some degree of like we want to feel in control of our lives, and realizing
Yeah.
what it is we can control is really empowering, instead of focusing on the things we can't and then feeling defeated. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, that's
Yeah,
beautiful.
I feel that like, and it's gone to like other areas of both my life and like the women I coach, like it's affected other areas of their life as well. There was one of our clients, and I'll make up a fake name because I don't want to like out her publicly. Let's call her Melissa. Melissa had a very like like conflict driven relationship with her in-laws. Her in-laws were very set in their ways about what a mom should be. And they said a mom should pick up after her kids. A mom should let her kids just play. A mom shouldn't expect her kids to do chores or anything for themselves. And my client Melissa was like, I can't do that. Like, I can't do that. But on the other hand, she was like, but they also allow me to go out and do my work because Melissa, of course, like she is a CSI, crime scene investigator. And as soon as I mentioned that, everyone in my balance community is like, I know who you're talking about. But she couldn't leave that because they watched the kids while she was at work. And she would thought that if she came up against her mother-in-law, that she would lose the kid babysitting and it would just make her life harder. And I think that's a lot of what we think. I think we feel trapped in situations where we don't say anything and we don't do anything because of how we interpret the situation. So she worked on that. She worked on kind of reframing it and just setting a boundary versus like, hey, this is like the rules in my house. I really love and respect you, but this is what I want my children to be able to do. And we also came up with backup plans for her. Like, say that they had the biggest thing of like the biggest like reaction ever, which wouldn't be her fault. Like, what could she do about childcare? And she found some options. She's like, I can ask my friend for this. I could do. So she was able to go in and kind of eliminate her risk. But then she set the boundary. And she says now, like, she's on really good terms with her in-laws based on how she changed how she was interpreting the situation, what it meant for her, and then taking action on what she needed.
Love that. And I used to feel the same way about boundaries. Like in my mind, there was this image of this like brick wall, right? You were building this wall and really like Melissa did, like getting really clear on what it is you need and your values and then communicating that. It actually brings you closer. You understand each other better. And that's so beautiful. I love that. And she had her backup plans.
Do you feel overwhelmed and anxious? Do you wish you could stop losing your temper with your kids and just have more fun as a mom? Do you crave finding more time to do the things you love without feeling guilty? I get it, Mama. I've been there. That's why I created the Vibrant Mom Life membership. Imagine what life would look like if you could finally get out of survival mode, consistently find time for yourself, and be the calm, present mom you've always wanted to be. This membership will help you step out of anxiety and overwhelm and help you find time for yourself without the guilt. Inside Vibrant Mom Life, you'll find monthly themes that will help you shift your mindset, get out of survival mode, and find time for the things you love, all while being the mom you want to be. Plus, you'll find guided meditations and yoga practices that will help you effortlessly infuse your days with self-care. And I know that some days are harder than others, so you'll even find a library of short and sweet guided affirmations so you can simply press play and reconnect with your inner calm in just minutes. Join Vibrant Mom Life today by going to soulcaremom.com/membership so you can stop running on empty and truly enjoy mom life. I can't wait to welcome you inside, Mama.
I don't remember where I heard this. I bet it was like a Brene Brown, but it was that you need to show people how to love you. Mm-hmm. Like, it's not helping your relationship if you're trying to hide everything or stuff it down or think like it doesn't bother you. Actually sharing what bothers you and how you're interpreting things with other people, it helps the relationship. But it's not to say that like boundaries, like they get such a bad rap because you're not telling somebody what to do in a boundary. You're saying what you're going to do if this behavior continues, and then you're the one to follow up on it. And so I thought that was powerful as well, because again, I like control. I like to know that I have power in a situation. I'm not powerless.
That's a very important distinction. Like boundaries really are, what am I going to do in these situations? Like it's, yeah. Mm-hmm. I was just talking to a friend about this and she was saying, I feel so like frustrated and defeated. And I just gave up on boundaries because it wasn't working. They weren't doing the thing that I asked. And so like the reframe of that is really powerful. Like it gives you choices and options and yeah, your power back. I love that.
Have you heard the book, The Let Them Theory by Mel Robbins?
So good. Oh, I love it.
Oh my gosh, it's so good. I think it's the best book on boundaries ever written. Like she explains it so wonderfully.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's definitely a good one if anybody's listening and needs a next read. Okay, so we've talked about like the cause of mom guilt. What are some of the mistakes people are making around mom guilt?
So I think with mom guilt, one of the big mistakes that I see is they see it as a reflection on them. Like it's a reflection on them and their abilities. To give you an example, like I have a friend who is trying to do this really, really big project. She's never done a project in this area before. And so she started looking up like strategies on how to do this project, ways other people do this project. And she found a lot of things that she wasn't doing. And so she took that on herself as she is doing things wrong when she saw these things. She was experiencing a little bit of guilt about not having the time to do all these strategies. And I think we do the same thing in motherhood. We experience guilt by not having the time to spend all this time with our kids, not having the time to take them places. But then taking it one step further and being like, this is because I'm a failure. This is because I can't be consistent. This is because I can't keep up. That is the huge mistake that I think people make, because in reality, like, we are one person. We can't do everything, and not everything is going to work for us in the parenting realm. It's just not our personality, and that's okay. Like, I want everyone listening to this, like, your personality is the best thing you have. It's the best thing. Honor it every day. And if something doesn't work for your personality, that's okay, because it makes room for the things that do work. So don't take that guilt personally. Just use it as a signal that, hey, maybe this isn't working for me and I could just go do something else instead that will make me happier.
I love that. Yes. It was Abraham Hicks that first like opened me up to like the idea of like there's the good feeling and the bad feelings, and like when you can follow that good feeling, you're headed in the right direction for you, and so when the guilt comes up, it is like a hey, let's slow down here and look at this, because there might be we may need to pivot, right, the way we're thinking or doing things, or
guilt can also be masqueraded though as fear. And so it really helps to like talk with someone through your feelings, because a lot of times when we feel fear about doing something, we won't do it. There's this thing that's talked about a lot of business. It's called like the resistance. Like, you feel the resistance when you're going into a creative project. You might feel the resistance when you're going into something with your kids. I know I felt the resistance. I just volunteered to become a coach on my son's mountain biking team. He's 7th grade. He just got into mountain biking. I had never mountain biked before in my life. And I say had never because yesterday was my first mountain bike ride pretty much ever. I was doing stuff on the road, but I was never in the mountains with rocks and hills and all of that stuff. And I was experiencing a lot of resistance to doing this, a lot of fear about, oh my gosh, I'm taking time away from other things. I could be spending my time elsewhere. Like, is this going to take too much time out of my life? All of those things that I could have easily classified as guilt that like I should be doing something else. And since I feel these things, maybe it's telling me that I should be doing something else. And so that's how the resistance kind of forms. So it's a process. And when you feel the feelings, the best thing to do is really just figure out what it's trying either to tell you or what like steps you need to take after. I like journaling for this because it slows down my brain when I can get all my thoughts on paper. And usually after I journal, I'm a lot clearer on what my next step should be, and if it's fear affecting my behavior and my thoughts, or if it's that I just don't really want to do a thing and I'm making myself do it, because those could be two different things.
Oh, that's good. And so when you journal, do you just free form, like let it all out? How do you process?
Yeah, I like to give myself self-compassion when I journal. So Dr. Kristin Neff, she literally wrote the book on self-compassion. She she has this 3-step process that if I'm feeling bad about something, I'm like, oh, I'm so guilty. I feel so guilty that I wasn't able to do this today. And then I use the first step. I first realize I'm in pain. I'm in pain right now because I'm in this like cycle of indecision. I don't know what the right step is to take. I don't know like what I should do next. So see right there, I'm writing like all of my thoughts on paper so I could really see like, okay, what's really at like the core of this. And then the second thing is common humanity, saying that, you know what, so many moms, so many women in my situation, they have felt this exact same thing from time to time. Like, I am not alone in this thought. And then third is to comfort myself. I'm like, I'm going to take some deep breaths. I'm going to take my time making this decision. I'm going to figure out exactly what is bothering me here. Maybe, and I'm writing this down, maybe I'll go talk to my husband because he always brings me clarity in situations. And conversations too help me because you know that time in conversations where you're talking with a friend or a loved one about something and they suggest something to you and your whole body's like, no, like that's helpful. You determine like what you don't want and it helps steer you to what you do. So that's how I journal. I just put it all out there and figure out my next steps.
Yes. Oh, Kristin Neff, another good book recommendation. We should make a whole list here.
Yes.
Okay. So walk us through what are your 5 your acronym? What are your 5 tips? Yeah.
So it's around guilt. Guilt is the acronym. And the G of guilt is goals and your need for them. And I'm not talking goals for your family. I'm not talking like go spend more time with your kids. No, I'm talking about a goal that is selfish and just for you. Because you need to know who you are apart from being a mom. I think that's so important. And I see so many women get into these situations where their kids leave for college. I mean, my mom was one of them, and they don't know how to define themselves anymore because that day-to-day motherhood that they were so used to doing for like the past 17, 18 years, it all of a sudden leaves the house. So you need goals and personal goals, especially things like, I mean, I'm mountain biking now for a goal. I've always marathoned for my goals. I'm writing a new book for my goal. I'm like goal lady. I have so many goals right now I'm working on that defines me outside of motherhood. And there's actually a study on this by Harvard Business Review. They interviewed people who were leaving for winter break. And some people were like telling them their plans and their goals during winter break, whether it was like to go skiing or to go spend time with family. And others were just like, I don't know, I'll see what pops up. I'll just do whatever. And they found that the people who set personal goals were 8% happier. I don't know how they measured that, but 8% happier than the people who didn't. And they allocated 24% less time to passive activities like scrolling, which we know doesn't bring us happiness, and 28% more time to things like socializing and connecting and having relationships, which has been shown to bring happiness. So that's the reason everybody needs a goal outside of your kids. That's G.
Love it.
You is understand your self-talk. And it's something that we were talking about right at the beginning of this podcast episode. Know what you are saying to yourself when things happen. Acknowledge those feelings. Know that, oh, you know what? I'm telling myself I'm a bad mom right now. I am really hurting right now. This is like, feels crappy. All of those things, just understand what you're saying to yourself. And understanding is the first step to actually changing it, because so many of us walk through life not knowing what we're actually doing, so we can't change it. So that's you. Understand your self-talk. I is your impact. You need to know who your actions affect. And when I say impact, I always think of my kids. My kids see how I live life. They see what I do. They see how I do it. That is bigger impact to them seeing me than me just telling them what they should do. So kids who see their moms put themselves last, never stand up for themselves, kind of let other people walk all over them. And I say that with all the love because I used to be one of those people who let people walk all over me. Not wanting to be too bossy. I just let it, that was something I overcame. And they learn to put themselves last. And they learn not to stand up for themselves. So when you start thinking about your impact and start seeing that, what you do on a daily basis matters, and you standing up for yourself matters just beyond yourself, that is a huge, huge win to overcoming guilt. And also, it affects your kids' aspirations for their life, but also let your kids affect your aspirations. I mean, I would not be getting into mountain biking if it were not for my son and him and mountain biking. So it works both ways. Your kids could impact you as well. So that is I from the guilt acronym. L is the love, lots of it for yourself. And this goes back to the self-compassion we were talking about before. Acknowledge your hurting, acknowledge your pain. I was just doing a coaching call in our Balance community yesterday where one of the members was saying how, she'll be in a routine in the morning and then everything will happen. A snow day where the kids are stuck at home, or like somebody will get sick and she'll have to drop everything and she isn't able to, exercise in the morning. And she really likes exercise. Like, she was a former high school runner. She's really trying to get back into it. And after a few minutes of talking, she was not acknowledging that she was hurting in the moment. She was saying, oh, I just need to get things better under control. Oh, I need to do things differently. Oh, I have to just do it and push through it. And I'm just being a wimp. Like, that was her self-talk. And as soon as she started acknowledging that, oh, this is hard and I'm hurting, that's when the tears started coming. That's when she realized, okay, this hurts. This hurts a lot. And when you give yourself that love, that's like the breakthrough. That's like when you're like, oh my gosh, I deserve something different than this, when you finally admit it to yourself and love yourself for it. So that's L. And then T is tiny steps, where I think a lot of times when we think that of doing something different, we're like, I'm going to go all in and it's going to be all done by tomorrow. And then of course it doesn't become all done by tomorrow. So it's a trap we fall into called all or nothing thinking. Instead, just focus on the next tiny step you can take. You do not need to have it all figured out. Many of my goals right now, I do not have it all figured out. With my book, I don't even know what I'm really going to write about yet. I just know I want a book, and I'm moving toward that direction. I have a meeting with a book coach tomorrow. I'm going to figure it out. But that's my tiny step. I'm just meeting with the book coach, and I have a little sliver of an idea. One of my clients, Alyssa, she just bought herself a house 3 months ago. And her first tiny little step that she took was she made a meeting with the bank to figure out how much money she would need. My other client, Anne, she wanted her Sifu title in Kung Fu. And so all she did for her first tiny step was talk to the master at her Kung Fu to figure out what she would need to do to get it. So think tiny steps when you're thinking of your goals. What's the next little thing that you can do that will bring you clarity on what you want to accomplish? So that's the guilt acronym. Going back, it's goals, understand your self-talk, know your impact, lots of love for yourself, and tiny steps.
Oh my gosh, there's so much gold in there. Oh yeah. So first of all, so exciting with mountain biking and your book. And the book is such a great example of there's so many things that we want, right? And we don't always know what the whole journey is going to look like or what we need to do exactly. But just taking that next step is so powerful. And how fun.
Yeah.
Our kids really do influence us. So we homeschool, and I felt this pressure, to when we first started, to be this teacher and to know everything and to have it all figured out and have the perfect lesson plans and all these things. And they have been such great teachers to me in return of how to really live and how we learn. What does that even look like, and what does that look like for them? And so you're right, it's both ways. It goes both ways for sure. This was so
it's
beautiful. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for having me. And it's so funny you mentioned teaching, because I was a fifth grade teacher, and I thought the same thing when I was a new teacher. I would just have the perfect lesson plans. And of course, you have your quote unquote perfect lesson plan, and it all falls apart immediately because the kids aren't into it that day, or aren't interested in the same things you are. And you really have to live by the seat of your pants as a teacher. Know your general direction, but be willing to pivot whenever necessary.
Oh, yeah, celebrating the teachers. What my teachers do is amazing. And yeah, motherhood too, right? Like it really is kind of seat of the pants learning. Like you're figuring things out, you're learning about your humans. Everybody's having different emotions on different days. And yeah.
It takes a lot. It's definitely not what the media said it was. Like Full House growing up or like Family Matters or Home Improvement. No, like kids still really act that way. It's all a script, that one.
All wrapped up in a little bow. Everybody's giving hugs at the end of yeah, it's just perfect. Like
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, Mom, that I snuck out of the house. I know it worried you. Yeah. Well, things went up to that. Yeah.
Before we wrap up, I'd like to ask a quick favor. This is an independent podcast. It's produced, recorded, and marketed by me, so I would love your help. Please share this podcast with your friends. Post about it on social media. Tell your girlfriends over lunch. Share about it with the moms at the park or at your next PTA meeting or homeschool co-op meetup. And please take a moment to subscribe and to leave a 5-star review wherever you're listening. It will help more moms find and benefit from this work, and it will make my heart so happy.
I love this. I've loved this conversation so much. And I would love to ask you a couple questions that are just like fun, not necessarily to do with mom guilt, but just
Yeah.
get your, yeah. Okay, so if you were gifted an extra hour today, how would you use it?
Oh my gosh. I'm reading the Fourth Wing series right now, and I would read my book. I'm on Iron Flame. Have you read this series?
I have not, but it's on my list.
Have you? Yes. Oh, it's so good.
Sure.
I'm addicted.
Ah.
I'd probably read my book.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. That's been a fun thing for me too, the past few years, just getting back into fiction, like just for fun, like reading for fun, pleasure.
And there's such good stuff out there.
And then I would also love to ask you if you could go back in time. So you've been on this whole journey. If you could go back in time to when you first became a mom, what would you tell yourself?
I don't know. I would just give a lot of love to myself. And I'd be like, you have everything you need to figure this out. Don't forget you. And make sure to tell people what you need as well. Like you're not meant to be a martyr.
That's so good. Yeah. Yeah. So many, I think moms can relate or resonate with that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's in our whole conversation, right? Putting ourselves last and living by all the shoulds. And yeah.
No one else is trained to do that. Dads aren't trained to do that. They don't put themselves last ever. And like moms should not have to do it either. In fact, it's so funny because we get we ask for feedback after our summits every year. And I always love the 1-star reviews because they're so against what we teach. It's always like, I feel like putting yourself first as a mom makes you selfish. And I couldn't get behind this summit. And I'm like, okay, not our people. That's okay. That's okay. Not realizing that putting yourself first actually makes you a better parent and a happier parent and a better mom to your kids.
Sometimes that's just like the first glimmer you just need. Like you might have planted that seed for them, because sometimes it's so ingrained in us, like the way that we think and live, and hearing that might open the door for them, like that they might be ready for it next year.
Maybe.
Okay, so you have something, speaking of summits, tell us about what you're hosting right now.
So the Happy Mom Summit, we have 50 plus speakers, including yourself. And it's 5 days of just fun and joy and connecting with other moms. And we start every day with the dance party. And you're going to learn so much and have so much insight into what you do as a mom, what habits you could really look at as a mom, and really how to love yourself and put yourself first. So it's a whole mood shift. I don't like to emphasize like the learning of it so much as like the transformation that you're going to make, because so many moms, this is our 4th year doing it, come to our summit and they're like, I never knew that I wasn't alone in these thoughts of overwhelm and it being way too much. I thought I just wasn't keeping up and I was a failure. So if you feel that way, come to the Happy Mom Summit. I'm sure Catherine has a link for you right below.
Absolutely. Yes, we're going to link to it. And I can resonate with that too. Like the beginning of my journey, I thought I was so alone in everything, in everything that I was experiencing as a mom, and just having that community and having like seeing other people talk about it and knowing that you're not alone is such a beautiful thing because it helps you to bring that awareness that you're talking about, right? Like understanding what's going on for you, so that you can create those
Absolutely.
shifts. Yeah, I love this so
Yes.
much.
Yes, yes.
We will link to everything so you can connect with JoAnn, so you can sign up for the summit, all of the things. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Hi, love. This is just a reminder that Soul Care Mom offers information that's shared with love and intended for educational and inspirational purposes only. You should not rely on this information as a substitute for medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. If you have any concerns or questions about your health, you should always consult with a trusted healthcare provider. Thank you for being here, and know that I am sending you so much love. Thanks for joining me, Mama. I'm over here smiling from ear to ear and giving you a big virtual hug. I love spending this time with you. You are amazing for showing up and carving out this space to nourish your soul. If you are loving the Soul Care Mom podcast, be sure to subscribe and leave a review. And if you are ready to start your mornings feeling calm and energized, get the Kickstart Your Calm Morning Guide, a self-care morning ritual for moms, as a free gift when you join the Soul Care Mom community. Head over to soulcaremom.com/kickstart and enter your email address to get your free gift and start feeling like a calm mom today. Sending you so much love, Mama.